So this is Kat, and you've probably seen her in a lot of political ads.
Has done this to me. It's probably the most violent occasion of throwing me to the ground.
Fucking hell. What a fucking toss. What a fucking toss.
But essentially, a car was about to run over a fellow protester. And so I went to check on that person. And that was all the justification an officer needed to pick me up and throw me to the ground, despite being half his size.
Man, I feel like when that happens, all the protesters should be allowed legally to pick up the cop and throw them to. And if their equipment gets broken,
And what I really want to stress here is that is what these officers are willing to do when there is press and cameras around. The reason we are protesting at this facility is because they are committing human rights abuses within the Broadview processing facility. It is a processing facility, so people are not supposed to be kept there for more than 12 hours at a time, but they are being kept for days or weeks without beds, without hot meals, without hygienic products. And if they are willing to do that to a congressional candidate on camera in front of press, imagine what they are willing to do to their detainees behind boarded up windows.
So why is it fucking crazy this is happening? So obviously she gave a good reason why this is crazy it's happening, because if they're willing to do this to somebody who's running for Congress on camera, then what's to stop them from doing something terrible to people when a camera is not involved? Absolutely. She's running for Congress. She's running for Congress. Kat Abughazaleh is running for Congress in Illinois. Let's go ahead and take a look at her position. Aside from the position of on the ground that we just saw earlier, because ICE officers are made of dumb and lard. So she is anti-authoritarianism. Okay. She says Donald Trump tech billionaires of the Republican Party have banded together to rapidly and illegally break this country, all at the expense of our most vulnerable. Their vision is fascist, one of the most militarized countries where only certain people, a few dozen rich men, have a seat at the table. We will and cannot let them win. Even has the word fascist highlighted right there for you. Okay. Fantastic. Basic existence. Says the United States is the richest country in the world, and yet most Americans can't even afford a $1,000 emergency expense. Absolutely. I can't. I had an emergency come up recently, and the only reason I was able to pay for that emergency is that one of my patrons was willing to intervene on my behalf. I do not make enough money to deal with an emergency expense. I am in a privileged position that I have an audience that is incredibly supportive, that is willing to help when things like, well, I don't want to say what happened because OPSEC is OPSEC, but I am very, very privileged to be in my position where that help was able to be sent my way. It would have been insane and unthinkable to me 7 years ago, and yet it has happened more than once. And when I think about the amount of scares that I've been in, and then I hear about the amount of scares that friends of mine have been in, that I am not able to intervene on because I do not have the audience size for the group funding, and I do not have the money myself, it freaks me out. Because that's the existence for everybody else. That's the existence for everyone. So you should be able to comfortably afford housing, groceries, and healthcare each month with plenty of money left over. There is no reason you should have to take an Uber to the hospital to avoid an ambulance bill while Elon Musk hides away in his own personal compound. Our existence isn't merely a means of profit for the richest people in society. Fuck yeah. Absolutely fuck yeah. She's also on TikTok. Real quick. Man, I love when I don't have volume from TikTok. There we go.
By piece. And so many Democrats seem content to just sit back and let them. So I say it's time to drop the excuses and grow a fucking spine. I'm Kat Abughazaleh, and I'm running for Congress in Illinois' 9th District. Unfortunately, this party has become one where you have to look to the exceptions for real leadership, as the majority work from an outdated playbook. We need a makeover, which means we need a vision that's bigger than what we've been told is possible. There is absolutely no reason you shouldn't be able to afford housing, groceries, and healthcare with some money left over. Families should have free childcare, social security.
Hey, look, it's a truncation of her entire policy positions. All of them. Wow. That's fantastic. That is entirely fantastic.
security should be expanded, and our inalienable rights shouldn't be dependent on who's in power. That means standing up to authoritarians, not shrinking away when the fight gets tough. And while current Democratic leadership might be fine cowering to Trump, I'm not. I've spent my entire career reporting on the far right and being attacked by them as a result. In fact, just a few months ago, Elon Musk's lawyers deposed me here in Chicago to ask about my mean tweets. Look, I thought comedy was legal again. This is all to say, I'm not scared of standing up to these people. I know how they think, and I know how to beat them. But my campaign itself is going to be different too, because I don't want to wait a year to help people. We're focused on meeting constituent needs with one simple rule. What if we didn't suck? My campaign and I would rather spend our money on book drives and clothing exchanges and public events than fancy fundraisers for rich donors. I also want my campaign to be as transparent as possible. That's why I'll be posting regular videos about the costs and steps of running for office.
That's fucking fantastic. Wow, look at that thing that we ask for in politicians. Transparency. Wow, what a concept. Isn't that fantastic? And also, utilizing the platforms that are available to us right now. Utilizing the platforms that everybody uses for entertainment as a way to get in with the people who you should be getting in with. Creating inroads with people who might otherwise be politically disconnected by going on to places like YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and growing your audience the way that regular fuckos on the ground like I have to do in order to get a foothold. Wow. What a fucking concept.
We all deserve better. We deserve human rights and financial freedom and a party that stands up to authoritarians. We deserve to thrive, not just survive. And I plan to fight for those ideals both on the campaign trail and in Congress. If you want to know more about me and what I believe, you can go to catforillinois.com. I do need to mention that campaigns cost money and ask you to contribute what you can. But I promise your donation will not be wasted on old, ineffective tactics. No spammy guilt trip texts, no focus groups to test my views, and no grifty consultants who care more about their paycheck than actually winning. It's time to challenge the status quo, and if our leaders won't do it, we will. I'm Kat Abughazaleh, and I'm running for Congress because it's time for Democrats to do more.
There we are. There we fucking are. That's fantastic. I'm on board. Like, I don't even live in Chicago, and I am on board. Fantastic. This feels like a person who is on my side. I could honestly say, based on the information I have seen, I'm on Team Kat Abughazaleh. Neat. This is a person who is not only willing to be transparent about their views, who is willing to communicate those views on mediums that people are actually going to fucking watch. This is also a person who is perfectly willing to go out and get on the ground and get her hands dirty with the rest of us at protests. And I don't know if I need to remind you that those things can get a little dangerous. Now, those of you who are watching the stream, you already know what I've done recently, but I'll go ahead and show it to you again in case you don't remember, or if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't seen the other video. But I was recently at the No Kings protest. I got a lot of footage from the protest itself, but by and large, the part of this protest that I think was the most interesting had nothing to do with the left-wing side of the protest. It had everything to do with a right-wing protester who was also at that protest, who I got a chance to interview during that protest. I'm gonna be honest, seeing a politician who is willing to get on the ground and do things with her constituents, not from the top down, but with them, from the bottom out, has way more respect for me than a politician that only does shit from behind closed doors, personally. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. I would love to know what your thoughts are, because my thoughts, well, you've already seen them. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.